Shalom. Giving all praise to the Most High Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Double honor to the apostles and elders. A great millstone for teaching his truth that has gone all around the earth. Shalom to the hopeful elect out there. It's your brother Atazawan Bayath. And just coming across this article, which it reads at the top, this is what would happen to Earth if a nuclear war broke out between the West and Russia. Right? So when I saw this article, it made me, think of some scriptures and figured I'd do a short, lesson to this article. And now, the day and time in which we live in, and chiefly the reason of the men being out there preaching, okay, the spirit of fear is on these devils, because I can't think of in the last 5 or 10 years an article that they've ever produced or put out there for consumption about the catastrophe of a potential nuclear war, okay? So I find it odd that this whole situation is going on with Russia and the Ukraine, how they're, the spirit is on them to drum this thing up, man. World War III is going to happen. There's no getting around that, because that's prophecy, right? So now you have just the thought process of the Idumeans, if you will, who are putting this stuff out there now, okay? Because it's potentially going to happen in the very, very near future, okay? So let's get into this article a little bit, and then we'll get the scriptures, and we'll look at a short film of, I think it's a nuclear blast or atomic blast, to show you what it looks like. But first, let me scroll down here and we'll read this article. Okay, it says detonation of nuclear devices, Corbis, okay, which is this, I guess, this file photo right here. And as it says, detonation of nuclear device, okay? And that's a nuclear cloud, right? A mushroom. So let's look at it, and it's described in the scriptures, all right? So suddenly the threat of nuclear war feels closer than it has in decades. The Bulletin of Atomic Scientists updated their doomsday clock to 100 seconds to midnight, and President Joe Biden has issued increasingly ominous statements reflecting how the looming conflict over the Ukraine that could ensnare both Russia and the West into conventional war. And nuclear war is not conventional, might I add, okay? Going on, it says, and some fear war with nuclear weapons. It is a prospect that has haunted human beings since the dawn of the Cold War. Politicians who were perceived as too open to the idea of nuclear war would pay for their hawkishness at the polls. Motion pictures from Dr. Strangelove to The Day After have depicted an uninhabitable world filled with lethal amounts of radiation and short on necessities like food and water. As our electrical infrastructure collapsed around us, people would resort to looting and their violent methods to survive. The seeming deterioration of civilization during the early months of the CV-19 pandemic would be nothing compared to the anarchy, destruction that would follow nuclear war. And that's about right, because basically, as the saying goes, all hell is about to break loose. Okay, so let's go on a little bit further. It says, yet decades of living with nuclear weapons have produced a broad body of knowledge as to what a nuclear war might do to the planet and to humanity. If even a small nuclear war were to break out, tens of millions of people would die after the initial blast. A blanket of soot would wrap the rays of the sun and cause a nuclear winter, destroying crops all over the planet and plunging billions into famine. See? Salakia. Man, I tell you, it's always something. It goes on and says, in the northern hemisphere, there would be such severe ozone depletion from the nuclear smoke that organisms would suffer from increased exposure to damaging ultraviolet light. While things would not be as bad in the southern hemisphere, even well-positioned countries like Australia would face the ripple effects from a small nuclear war in the northern hemisphere by sheer virtue of its interconnectedness with the global community. Let's see here. Let's go on. The worst case scenario is the U.S. and Russia Central Strategic Forces would be launched with the detonation of several thousand warheads. Heinz M. Christensen, Director, Nuclear Information Project and Associate Senior Fellow to CIPRI, Federation of American Scientists, told Salon by email, a large nuclear exchange would not only kill millions of people and contaminate waste areas with radioactive fallout but potentially also have long-term climatic effects. Okay. Let's scroll down here. Let's see here. What else can we read in this? That's pretty much the gist of it. Let's see. Arms control agreements to reduce the number of and role of nuclear weapons, Christian told Solomon. Crisis management agreements to reduce the chances for and risk of misunderstanding and overreaction, and changes in national policies so countries refrain from taking aggressive action. All of this requires political will to change. Political will to change. It's like it. All right. But anyway, in that article, and look down here, it says 441, which is 144. Call all Yahweh Shemi Awashai. So anyway, you got a whole bunch of these scientists and political folk who are getting nervous. Oh boy, it's great. All right, so anyway, let's go into a few scriptures, right, that speak of this. First, let me get Joel 2, or Joel, whichever you prefer, and we'll read this. This is Joel 2:1. It says, blow ye the trumpet in Zion now, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua cometh, for it is nigh at hand. And nuclear war is nigh at hand. Okay, so this is a warning, as it says here, right? The terrible visitation. Okay, so let's just jump down to verse 11, which is what I want. And it reads, and the Lord Yahweh shall utter his voice before his army, for his camp is very great, for he is strong that executeth his word. For the day of the Lord Yahweh is great and very terrible, and who can abide it? And that's the day that's coming. You see? World War III is going to happen. There's no way around it. Okay? And here at the top it says, the Most High's wrath against nations. So this is Isaiah 34:1. Come near, ye nations, to hear, and hearken, ye people. Let the earth hear, and all that is therein, the world and all things that come forth of it. For the indignation of the Lord Yahweh is upon all nations, and his fury upon all their armies. He hath utterly destroyed them. He hath delivered them to the slaughter. Their slain also shall be cast out, and their stink shall come up out of their carcasses, and the mountains shall be melted with their blood. and all the host of heaven shall be dissolved. And how do you dissolve that? With nuclear fire, right? Well, that's one way. And the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. That's the vision, right? Rolled together as a scroll. So let's look at Slovakia. We'll look at what it looks like, a nuclear explosion, atomic bomb, mushroom cloud. So we'll take a look at it. See how that rolls together? So that's what you get when you have just one detonation. Okay? Imagine millions of them, hundreds of thousands of them, however you want to look at it. Okay? Verse 4 again, and all the hosts of heaven shall be dissolved, and the heavens shall be rolled together as a scroll. And like when you have a scroll with the scriptures, you have two sides, or it's got two pins in it that you unroll them and roll them back together, somewhat like you might have seen your mother or your grandmother have a rolling pin where she rolls out her dough. Just imagine that with sheepskin on it, paper, and it's rolled together. You see, just like those clouds roll together. All right? And all their hosts shall fall down as the leaf falleth off the vine, and as a fallen fig from the fig tree. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, and upon the people of my curse to judgment. You see, and that's the Lord. Let's go into Idumea, okay, for those who may not know. All right? So we go into Idumea, and what do you see? Edom, who we call the so-called white man today. All right? Idumea is just another way of saying them. See? Edom, red, Edom, Edomite, Idumea, descendants of Esau. They're the people that are cursed to the Lord's judgment forever. Okay? Now let's go back up and finish the verse out. Finishing out verse 4, okay, and it reads, as the leaf falleth off from the vine, and as a fallen fig from the fig tree, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven, behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, and upon the people of my curse to judgment. The sword of the Lord is filled with blood, it is made fat with the fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fatness of the kidneys of rams, for the Lord hath a sacrifice in Basra, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. Okay? And we just stop right there. And all those rams and goats are just really a mixture of the nations and even our own people who are wicked. Okay? In this place called Basra, which is another name for saying Babylon the Great, among other names. Okay? We'll go over to Joel 3, and we'll read this. Starting at verse 1, it says, for behold, those days, and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations, and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land. Right. All the Israelites, we are scattered into all the different nations and lands, and they've taken over that land even ever since the time that we got pushed out in 70 AD, right? And then in recent years, in the last 80 years or so, they've been parting it out to different nations, right? The Arabs got a part, and then the 1948ers got a bigger portion, and they're fighting over that land, but it doesn't belong to any of them. Okay. Verse 3, and they have cast lots for my people, and have given a boy for an harlot, and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. Yea, and what have you to do with me, O Tyre and Zidon, and all the coast of Palestine? Will you render me a recompense? And if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return your recompense upon your own head, because ye have taken my silver and my gold, and have carried into your temple my goodly pleasant things. The children also of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have ye sold unto the Grecians. You see, and I've gone into that before. We've gone into this stuff before about Tyre and Zidon being so-called Africans. They're Hamites, okay? Because they had a hand in selling us to the Idumeans, okay? Behold, I will raise them out of the place whither ye have sold them, and return your recompense upon your own head. And I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Judah, and they shall sell them to the Sabians and to a people far off. For the Lord Yahweh has spoken it, and anything that the Lord has spoken will come to pass. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say that I am strong. And that's all these other nations who've spent a lot of money, as the apostles have taught us, in their defense, okay, in their war chest. Symbolically saying that farming tools and utensils will now become, the money will go into defense, okay? Building up nuclear capability, okay? Building an army, all right? Verse 11, assemble yourselves and come all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord Yahweh. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the nations round about. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes in the valley of decision, which is Jehoshaphat or Yahweh Shaphat. Okay, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. The sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. The Lord also shall roar out of Zion and utter his voice from Jerusalem. And the heavens and the earth shall shake. But the Lord Yahweh will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel. See? So shall ye know that I am the Lord Yahweh, your power, dwelling in Zion, my holy mountain. Then shall Jerusalem be holy, and there shall no strangers pass through her anymore. That's right. Israel will be delivered. Okay? We'll go look at it here in Revelation. Right there, verse 12, we'll start, and it reads, and I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and this is John the Revelator, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. And the stars of heaven fell unto the earth, even as a fig tree casteth the untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. Right, those nuclear bombs are falling. Okay, back then, of course, there's no terminology for John the Revelator to use, so I would imagine in his vision it looks like fig trees or stars falling. You see? All right, metaphorically speaking. Where were we? Okay, verse 14, Slakia. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, just like Isaiah said. and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. And that's because of the pelting. This earth is going to rock and reel side to side, okay? And the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens and in the rocks of the mountains, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us, and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne, and from the wrath of the Lamb. For the great day of his wrath is come, and who shall be able to stand? Right? You see? So they're afraid, right? And they're making mention of this. Okay? And as we read in the beginning of that second chapter, I believe it was, of Joel, for Israelites to get themselves together. Okay? Get yourself together, because it's going to happen. Okay? And we'll read it again, and then we'll close the lesson. Joel 2:1, blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm. And that's the men that's sighing and crying today, those who are doing these types of sit-down lessons and on the highways and hedges, prophesying and preaching, okay? Sounding the alarm, okay? Blow ye the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, cometh, for it is nigh at hand. Okay? So that's going to end the lesson right there. I'm going to give all praise to the Most High, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash. Okay, Lord willing. This lesson has been edifying to anybody that watches it. I'm going to give double honor to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching this truth that has gone all around the earth. And shalom to the hopeful elect out there. I'll see you again real soon on another lesson, Lord willing. Shalom.